Inspiration Inc., a series where we bring you beyond the boardroom conversations of legends who've inspired generations with their achievements and aura.
Welcome to Inspiration Inc., a brand new series on Times Network. In this series, we are going to speak to some of the inspirational speakers of India Inc. and obviously government officials. We have a very special guest with us, and I call him special because he is shouldering the responsibility of transforming India. We have with us Mr. Amitabh Kant, CEO, Niti Aayog. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on Inspiration Inc. And as the name suggests, I'm going to do an inspirational talk. So I will not get into the usual numbers that you end up discussing. But tell me one thing, being CEO of a company or a corporate is one thing. Technically, if we see, you are CEO of a department which is transforming India, and whatever you do now is going to impact not only the current generation, even the future generations. How does it feel?
If you're in a private sector, you are in charge of the performance of that particular company. You control all the forces, production, balance sheet, everything is controlled. Here, the chairman of Niti Aayog is the Prime Minister of India. He drives the country. I happen to be the CEO of Niti Aayog. And the great thing is that you are not driving yourself, but you are working in partnership with a lot of agencies, different ministries, state governments. So the objective really is that it should be a great positive partnership of an exchange of ideas, exchange of great thoughts which can lead to transformation of India. And we do monitoring, we do evaluation, but essentially the main task is to generate new ideas, really work in great partnership with the states who are a very key driver and with all the different stakeholders of the government of India.
Since you mentioned that Mr. Modi himself is the chairman of Niti Aayog, and as a boss, how does it feel to work with him? He is a workaholic, he is known to be a taskmaster. You obviously have known him for years. How is it to work with him?
I've worked with several political leaders in my 42 years career. But Mr. Modi is an immense visionary. First of all, his ability to think big, think large. Secondly, his ability to do transformational things across sectors, from infrastructure to social sector. And thirdly, I think his great ability to be a great agent of change, great agent of change across sectors. And fourthly, his immense ability to be a great motivator. As a leader, you must be able to take bold, gutsy, courageous decisions, which he has done. His ability to motivate his team and to inspire officers is an immense ability.
So tell me one thing, usually we see that even transforming a company, a small or medium-sized company, is a huge task. Now here you are actually day in, day out working on transforming India. It's 130 crore plus people transforming their lives and transforming a country like India. Typically, what do you think when you go to bed after finishing your day?
Well, the first thing I do in the night is I have a small diary in which I try and note down what needs to be done for the next day. It's very important that you should have a clear strategy for the next day or have a long-term perspective, but beyond that is a lot of action points. So I think through what are the key issues that I need to push for the next day. So I jot down about every day, I jot down about 20 odd things which needs to be done for the next day. But important thing is beyond just the next day, we must have a perspective of what are the areas we want to drive. It's not possible to do everything, but we must know what are the big pictures.
But under Mr. Modi and in his obviously first term as the Prime Minister of India, if you were to shortlist two biggest ambitious schemes which are your passion, one is obviously Make in India, and that's a huge success story. But which are those two schemes which are your driving force or which are your personal ambition?
Well, let me give you three. I think the first and foremost is definitely Swachh Bharat. Because it is transformational in many ways. He's brought toilets, he's brought excreta center stage, which nobody used to talk about, and he's brought cleanliness. And this will have a huge impact on health, on quality of life, on nutrition. All this will have a huge impact on Indians in the long run. Secondly, I personally feel that startup, his vision for driving startup, his vision for innovation, the vision for driving Atal Innovation Mission, where we are creating tinkering labs across 3,500 odd schools, which we have done, will really is one of the biggest disruptionist schemes across the government, anywhere in the world. I mean, it's not much talked about, but when you put robots, 3D printers, Internet of Things for students from class 6 onwards, this will truly transform India in the years to come. And thirdly, of course, I think it's very important that India becomes a great manufacturing nation and therefore make in India. So these are three critical schemes which will transform India in the years to come.
Do you ever feel weighed down? Because these are all mammoth tasks. And you know, I mean, generally, I mean, the history of India, if you look at independent India's history, even one scheme of this scale, if it becomes successful in one tenure of government, even that is considered a huge achievement. Here you are working on multiple such schemes, and day in, day night you are investing your time and energy. Do you ever feel weighed down?
No, never. I feel very inspirational. Actually, I feel very motivated, and I feel very blessed that I'm working at this particular point of time in India's history and under a leadership which is trying to transform India.
You know, at ET Now, our motto is Rise with India, because even we truly believe, as the largest media house in the country, that India's time has arrived and India will rise. But when we speak to Indians about their own ambition or about their own future, there is that hint of uncertainty. They do feel uncertain. They are very certain that India will be a superpower in next 10-20 years. When it comes to their own life, sometimes there is that hint of insecurity or uncertainty. From this platform, what would you like to convey to them? Because they are part of India's story. It's the citizens who make India.
Well, India is going through one of the biggest transformations any country could have ever seen. And this is largely happening because of technology. I mean, if you look at the vast reach of Indians through mobile telephony, if you look at the huge penetration of digitization, if you look at the extent of digital payments, many Indians don't realize this, but 98.3% Indians pay income tax online. The entire public finance management system of the government is today digital. Indians will have enormous amount of data, and this data analytics, use of artificial intelligence, use of blockchain technology will propel growth in India. And India will be immensely data rich. We are really going to be the key driver of global economy simply on the basis of our ability to drive technologically. And one of the key things this government has done is really to push the limits of the JAM Trinity, Aadhaar, and the direct benefit transfer scheme of government, where we are transferring money through close to about 500 odd schemes of the government. Many Indians don't realize this, but this has been truly transformational, because when I was a young officer, there used to be huge leakages, center passing money to state governments to districts, to panchayat. Now all this money now goes straight into the bank accounts, and the government has saved close to 90,000 crores simply because of this, and a vast number of fake people, fake teachers, fake students have all vanished because you're putting money straight, it's a direct benefit transfer to the beneficiary. So India is becoming more and more a very, very efficient economy simply because of the use of technology, and we are technologically leapfrogging in many, many ways.
Also, one thing I have observed, and I always thought that had you not been an IAS officer, had you not been in Niti, probably you would have been one of the biggest brand gurus in the industry. And I'll tell you why. Some of the most catchy initiatives which were your brainchild, if you look at Incredible India, if you look at God's Own Country, or now even Make in India, these are all statements in itself. And these are, I mean, even now, the examples of these initiatives are given globally on a lot of forums. So what brings that passion for the brand India in you, which compels you to come out with such thoughts or such initiatives?
So it's important to understand that these are just not brand lines, or these are slogans.
These are initiatives.
It's very important to understand that a product is as good. A branding campaign, has to be a good product. So when we started with Kerala, for instance, nobody had heard of Kerala as a tourism destination.
Yeah.
And we we actually took a route which is an antithesis of everything that the world of tourism was talking about.
Yeah.
We went back to the roots of Kerala, we went back to its backwaters, its Ayurveda, we went back to its traditional architecture, we went back to its traditional, all its strength, its cuisine, its art forms, its, wildlife, and we created a unique product. And I think why the brand line God's Own Country became a global brand line, because it merged very closely, it converged with what the product was, and the product was unique. The uniqueness of Ayurveda, backwaters, houseboat, enabled it to be God's Own Country. You can't have a great successful campaign if the product is lousy. I mean, we must understand that. And therefore, you have to create a great experience around it. And I think the same thing was done with Incredible India. It was not just the branding of India as Incredible India, but creating great products.
I want to talk about Make in India, because this is one initiative, and like you mentioned, obviously there are many initiatives that this government has taken. But Make in India is something which created global headlines. The lion that we see, that has become a mascot of Make in India globally. But if we look at the fine print, have you been able to transform the way manufacturing should have been transformed? Are we somewhere in the middle of the curve? I mean, what do you feel about this initiative?
No, I think, a lot of spade work has been done in terms of policy for Make in India. I think a lot of progress has been made in terms of manufacturing, but it's still work in progress. I think it's important to understand that India has jumped up 42 positions in the ease of doing business. Whole focus was on ease of doing business. We've created a huge competition among states. We rank and name and shame states on that. I think we've opened up the foreign direct investment regime across 23 odd sectors, and therefore our foreign direct investment has grown by about 224 billion in the last 3 years. These are huge, massive achievements, and now you are seeing investments by Indian companies growing and expanding. So I'm quite sure, I'm extremely confident that the vast number of measures this government has taken will yield very rich dividends in the years to come.
Now a very basic question, because a couple of years back India did suffer a problem of brain drain. Today India is a different story, and today obviously it is an attractive destination. It is attracting talent from global shores. But you had that opportunity after clearing your IAS and all. You did go abroad to study and all. You had that opportunity to maybe settle down abroad or something like that. So what made you come back?
I come from a very middle class background actually. My mother was an academician, my father was in government service, so the ambition was always to work in India for the government, and therefore I sat for the civil services and I got in, and I was delighted. When I got the Kerala cadre, it was a little bit of a disappointment actually when I got it, but I really feel that it was a very, very unique experience having gone and worked in Kerala. It's been one of the most exciting phases of my career to work in different sectors. I worked in the traditional fisheries sector of Kerala, I worked in the industry sector, and I worked in the tourism sector. And all these sectors have given me a unique experience. And I also worked in the rural development sector of Kerala. I think more than anything else, it has helped me evolve as a person. And when I was in Kerala tourism, I got this opportunity to build Kerala's brand entity, and then coming to India, Government of India, I got this opportunity to do the Incredible India campaign, and much later do a lot of infrastructure work in the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor, and then with Make in India, Startup India. So it's been a great, I really feel greatly blessed and honored to have worked with the government. And I think the opportunity you get in the government the scale and size of what you do, your ability to transform things and make an impact on the lives of citizens, you will never get in the private sector. As an individual, I have evolved greatly in the government.
I'm sure. Also, since you have spent more than 40 years, tell me one thing, is there a change in the mindset at the leadership level? I'm talking about the political leadership, and I'm not necessarily referring to Mr. Modi, I'm talking in general, the way that relation between the bureaucracy and politicians, how it has evolved or how it has changed over
No, I think one major transformation that has taken place is that good governance has become good politics. And elections after elections, as you'll see now, if you deliver, people want results, people have expectations, and therefore if you deliver and if the schemes that you are implementing, if they reach the doorsteps of the beneficiary and he benefits from it, and you see growth and prosperity, then the people are bound to vote for you. And therefore, good governance has become good politics.
When you compare to China, I mean, obviously they are at a different scale, they have the lead because they started early, but some of the areas like let's say artificial intelligence or the analytics, the way they are investing in these verticals, and obviously India will also have to transform. What is your view? Is there a major gap? Is it something which is manageable? I mean, what is your view?
No, I think we should just keep moving forward in many of these areas. We've come out with a policy for artificial intelligence for all.
And you are one of the few nations, in fact, who has done
that.
We've
come out with a very, very progressive strategy document. And this actually defines a strategy which will have a huge impact across agriculture, across health, across many areas. So I don't think we need to worry about any other nation. We work in a different political system. We should just be steadfast in our determination to make India grow and prosper and ensure that the benefits of growth and prosperity reach the people of India.
Which is the next book that you are planning to write? Are you working on one after branding India?
No, so I've just finished a book which I've edited. It's called The Path Ahead. Transformative Ideas for India, and the book is just coming out into the market. It's about it's about taking India forward, many of the things that have been implemented and what are the transformative ideas of the future. Many outstanding, brilliant people have written for this.
Which is the most inspirational book, if you were to name a few, that you have read, or which changed your life or the way you think? Is there anyone?
When I was in school, I read E.M. Foster's Passage to India.
Okay.
And I found that very inspirational. It was about, during the British rule, a Muslim gentleman making friends with a Britisher, and it gave a broad overview of Indian society, and that despite the British colonialism, despite a Muslim doctor, you could be friends, an Indian could be friend with a Britisher, and it captured the feel and the flavor of India very beautifully. It was a very fascinating book to read, and I keep reading C. Rajgopalachari's Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are very brilliantly written and very succinctly written. So, I've read them again and again. I find them very motivating.
Who's the most motivational or inspirational person that you have ever met? Who inspired you?
Well, I think it's definitely the present Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, because it's been a delight working in the government to see a vision of transforming India and ability to move at fast speed and to transform India across sectors. So I've worked with a vast number of chief ministers. I've worked with several prime ministers. But right now there's a vision that which is very determined, which is very motivating, which is very inspirational.
How have you managed time for yourself? Because you are managing time for 130 crore plus Indians as well.
One thing I do is that I try and get up early in the morning, and I try and keep at least 2 hours for myself, which is
you get that much time in the morning?
From 6 to 8:15 I try and do whatever, either good exercise or whatever, or walk, or that physical exertion I think is very critical, and it's very important to sweat it out, and that I do in the morning, early morning, and that's very important.
India is a young country, in fact we are the youngest country, and this whole demographic dividend that we always talk about. If you have to give one message to to somebody young who's watching this show right now, what would be your message to the youth of India?
I would only say that they're very, very fortunate to have been born in India and to be at this point of India's history here. And you can, all of them can be great change agents in many, many ways. All these sectors are getting transformed. A huge amount of innovation is taking place. Startups are coming up. Incubation is taking place. India is doing extremely well in research, and we are doing transformative things across sector. So this is a great opportunity for young Indians. This is a huge opportunity to really be a change agent, and all of them should really look at disrupting society in some manner or the other, which can enable India to transform and grow over a long period of time.
Right. One last question. So which is that one dream which still gives you sleepless nights? Maybe it could be personal, it could be professional. And which is that one thing which you would want to change about your life, if you have to? Well, if you are given an opportunity.
No, I don't think, nothing gives me sleepless nights. I sleep extremely well. Okay. I sleep extremely well. Whatever I try and do it well and with professionalism.
Obviously.
And my view is that whatever is within your control, you try and do well, and do it to the best extent possible with the greatest amount of professionalism and the greatest amount of detailing, and don't worry about any other consequences. So I sleep well, I do my exercise, I eat well, I live well, and I enjoy well. And I think if you want to do work well, it's very important that you should have a perspective of enjoying life. I mean, I play sports, I read books, I do a little bit of gardening, I do a little bit of cycling. All that is very important in life to maintain a work-life balance.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us, and I think it's an inspirational chat that we had, and I hope that people who are watching this show will also feel inspired. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mir. Great pleasure.